In 1996, Scholastic began publishing Animorphs. Over the next 6 years, Katherine Applegate and her husband, Michael Grant, under the pseudonym K.A. Applegate, produced 54 main series books, several spin-offs, and inspired a TV series, graphic novels, and a cult following. We can't tell you where we live. We can't even tell you our last names. But we can tell you our thoughts and feelings on this series, book by book. I'm Miranda.
I'm Eddie.
And I'm Chris.
And we are the Anidorks. These may be kids' books, but we discuss dark themes and mature content. There may also be some explicit language. Listener discretion is advised.
Guys, how do we do this? I ask this every time. I don't remember how to start books.
Yeah, but after how long it feels like we spent trapped in the rainforest in book 11.
Didn't you feel like we read that book twice?
It really did feel that way.
Well, I had to refresh every time for it, so I feel like I did read that book many times.
You did feel very fresh during the recording sessions. Like spring fresh. You smell great.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. This book.
Maybe we should do our 3-sentence summaries, but also do them as a review of how we felt about the book.
Are you trying to torture me further?
I am trying to torture you further.
Or would you just hint at how we feel? Do you know what
the funniest thing is, Ed? I've been publicly tweeting my opinion about this book the entire time I was reading it.
And I know that because I check our Twitter. Book 12. What is it? Book 12, The Change? The Reaction?
The Erection. The Reaction. Sorry, that was really dumb. That was a really dumb. Yeah, it's true.
Do we know the title of the book that we
It's
read?
The Reaction.
I just Googled
it's the
book
reaction.
12.
It's The Reaction. Beautiful.
Trust no one.
Beautiful.
Okay, can we just talk about the cover, though?
No.
Before, now I do think, I found, so the way that we read these books, I can't actually explain this, Chris. You're going to have to explain how we read the books. We have a database, a drive.
Yeah. We log into, we have an ebook server that we all log into that we can all leave notes in, which is really funny because when I think about this whole experience, the reason why I don't read is because it's lonely. And what did I go and do? I started a podcast with the two of you and then started a special web forum where I read alongside other people in real time. Richard pointed this out to me.
And formed contrarian opinions in response to my comments on the book.
Hey, you were off base on this one, bud. I didn't have to work hard to be contrarian on this one.
So the thing I wanted to say though is, I don't know. I don't actually know how I feel about it. I think I'm just,
I think you just
I'm going to figure it out in real time. Yes, I had a feeling that was going to be the point we were going to reach for. But the thing I wanted to say is I could never find this book. I feel like the colors or the way that the balance of it, it did not pop for me on the
it's very
page.
Very dull.
Yeah.
What?
You love it. It's your favorite cover yet.
Yeah. I love the cover. And you know what makes the cover even better is when you actually have a physical copy of the book and you get to open it up and see the little lithograph in there. It's pretty cute.
I don't think it's
You like the cover?
I think it's a bad background choice. She doesn't pop off the background. The morph itself, phenomenal. Third morph, little crocodile boy.
That's what I'm saying. And the little tail coming out of the butt. The little
it's
tail
an all fours moment too.
Yeah.
That's true. I didn't appreciate the tail.
Oh, it's a good tail. That's a girthy tail.
Yeah.
Hey,
do you think she's falling here? It's not a slow morph. She's actually in free fall.
Oh, it's actually, you read morphs from left to right. She's actually getting up backwards.
Trust no one. Trust no one.
That is the best description on a cover of a book that's happened yet. Yeah.
It does. I would say it describes the series more than
it describes the series, but it also describes this book in particular.
Mm-hmm.
This
book, Rachel doesn't even trust herself.
I just want to say, Animorphs is a series so before its time. It was dealing with parasocial relationships in the 90s.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Shall we do our 3-sentence summaries?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
I think I'm 2-sentence this time.
All right.
And I have no idea what I'm going to say.
I think
Randy,
I did 3. I think I did 3 last time, so I can take 1.
All right, I'll take 3. In this masterclass of a book, we learn the full range of teenage girl emotion in not a one-dimensional way, but a one-to-one-to-one-dimensional way. That's 3-dimensional way about how much one can obsess about a teen movie star when they themselves are that age. And it shows off the pitfalls of fame and fortune. How does it do this, you ask? That sentence too.
Are you sure? Are you absolutely sure?
It does so by having Rachel grow into a crocodile.
This is sentence 3. Just confirming, right?
Yeah, you bet. Save a little boy. Develop an allergy with the morph she acquired. that of crocodile. Collapse in her house while having an allergic reaction to her morph. Live with her dad again for a bit. Go on a talk show. Go to a yacht. She goes to a yacht in this book. It's pretty great. She meets Jonathan Taylor Thomas. She decides that he's a sellout and that she's a punk, but she doesn't know the word punk yet. And that's what this book is really about. Would be a sentence I would say inside of the last sentence. And that's how I'm pulling off this masterpiece describing the masterclass that is book 12, The Reaction, the best book I've ever read. You're welcome. God.
The gall that you began describing the book in the 3rd sentence of a 3-sentence summary.
I feel like I described it in sentence.
I had 2 strokes in that time.
Genius.
Rachel learns that she's allergic to crocodiles, thirsts after a child star.
Footnote, she herself is also a child.
Yes, sorry. Yeah.
Appropriately thirsted after a child star.
Appropriately thirsted after a child star.
Age appropriately thirsted after a child star.
And burped a crocodile into Z-space.
Out of Z-space?
No, out of Z-space.
Out of Z-space.
Into our
space. We'll get there. 2nd sentence.
Same as the
These
first.
These books are about puberty.
Yeah, okay.
Nice.
I've been working on this one. I've synthesized a lot of what you two have said. This is what I've come away with.
All right.
This Barbie morphs uncontrollably. He's just Jeremy Jason McCole.
Fucking beautiful. Fucking beautiful. It really is a Barbie Oppenheimer tale.
A Barbenheimer tale.
A Barbenheimer Christmas. That said, it's a great book.
I actually did like this book. I know you didn't, Eddie. I understand where you're coming from more than any other book so far. Somehow, even in the book that didn't happen, this book feels like it didn't matter.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm not convinced the concepts we're introduced to will ever come up again, even though they definitely should.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You don't think in the final boss battle of the series, Visser 3 burps his, what was it called? What's his big morph? Help me out here.
He had a lot.
The Yoggoth, the Cthulhu morph. I don't know.
The Yogg-Sothoth.
Yeah. Oh, in this book, yeah. I hinted to Chris and Miranda that I did not enjoy this book as much as the others.
Who are you talking to right now? Who are you talking to right now? Who the hell is that? You're in a Zoom call with your 2 friends.
I actually think this book is perfect for Anidorks. I think we're going to have a great time.
We were together when we started reading this book, and you rage quit after chapter 4. You said, I'm going to bed. Fuck this
Chris and I
were
were in
bed.
We did read this out loud together, and Chris and I were in agreement. We were like, not a great opener. And Chris is now saying...
the way that I remember it is you got up on top of an ottoman and started saying how
like Tom Cruise.
like Tom Cruise being like, I'm in love with everything but this book.
So I'm confused. I think we're learning something about the Animorphs. Like most of the books, I think, want you to take everything that they're teaching you about the world and the rules and the mechanics pretty seriously. And then you get a silly book where they solve the problem by spraying Visser 3 with skunk stink. And they're like, and it feels like it doesn't quite, it's got Looney Tune physics rather than than the rules of the other books, where it feels like they probably could, like Rachel gets away with a lot in this book, as we'll get to. And it's just like, I'm learning, like, sometimes Animorphs is silly. I feel like that's the thing that You're
just picking up on this now?
Yeah, I think you're just... That's why I was surprised.
This is the silliest book yet, I guess. That's the thing.
I don't know that it was actually sillier than the Skunk book.
Skunk book was pretty silly. But there was a lot of fear of death in the beginning of the Skunk book. So actually, this may be
and that whole termite section felt very much like...
That's true. You're absolutely right about that. But I do think that there are two interesting technological developments in this book that we will get to when we get to. I don't think we're going to get to them in this session, but there is stuff about this book that I was like, oh, that's actually an incredibly meaty development. Like, Cassie has a Rachel morph.
Cassie has a Rachel morph, and I feel like Axe low-key confirmed our belief that the entire animal exists jutting off of you in Z-space.
And thus, when you have a morph in some dimension you can't access, your little nose hairs are close to little pollutants coming off of whatever you morphed. Now, also, we have a mechanism of understanding of losing a morph, which is fundamentally important. We did not know if that could ever happen, and now we know it actually can. Not to mention empowering women to lust after whatever they want and
that is true. This is a very female gaze heavy book.
Yeah.
I wasn't so sure, and I guess we'll figure this out as we go through it. I wasn't so sure that it was so pro female gaze. I can't tell. I couldn't tell from... I feel like we'll have to talk about this.
It is in ways parodying the female gaze, so you could be...
But like, I feel like we get a lot of Jake and Marco talking about things. I felt like Jake and Marco, I have a better sense of their friendship together, like where they're not talking about girls or whatever they would talk about. Whereas like Cassie and Rachel, I feel like when I imagine their friendship...
So you're saying while the book was written... with the female gaze in mind,
it doesn't pass the Bechdel test.
Yeah,
that's what you're saying, which is true.
I think we should jump in, though. I feel like...
let's do it. Let's get going here.
Jump into this book or into this crocodile inhabitant? Into this crocodile habitat?
Well,
habitat.
That's how I remember this book, is that's the first thing that happens. But we actually get a very like old school, like earlier in the series kind of chapter 1 where they just catch us up on everything that's happened.
It was nice and dense though.
Yeah, Rachel gets to admit that she's, scared. She's got a lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
She gets a good line about fear. She says, fear is like this vicious little worm that lives inside you and eats you alive. Mm-hmm. You have to fight it. You have to know it's there. You have to accept that you'll never get rid of it, but fight it just the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's in like the first half of the first page. Like, come on.
No, it's a very intense book.
It goes hard.
Yeah. She's digesting the Sun Tzu that she ate in book, whatever. She also does a quick physical description of herself, which is, everybody does that. But she says something really funny, which is like, she's like, I'm tall for my age. Maybe tall for any age. Which, now it's just
how tall is Rachel?
I think all you would have to be to feel that way as like a middle schooler. I feel like if you're like 5'6", 5'7", and you're like 12, you're probably like, wow, I am the height of many, but not all adult women around me.
Yeah. They do also make a point all the time of saying that Hork-Bajir are about the same height as Rachel.
Really?
No, I'm kidding.
Oh my God. I was like, oh my God, I have to go back through the text. Like, holy shit. That was good. You sold that way too well.
Yeah.
So let's just, I don't know, let's check out some capital W web space sites.
Yeah. Well, the internet had only been around for 13 years at that point. So it was a fairly new development.
They spent a lot of time on the internet in this book.
Yeah, it's actually kind of exhilarating. Frankly, like I was like, yeah, let's spend more time on the internet. Let's go. I can't wait for the first time we're in a chat room on this damn thing with Visser 3.
Oh, there's got to be a chat room book, right?
Oh, I really hope there's a catfish morph for Visser 3 if you know.
We've already had.
Oh, this is interesting. So we get a description of how if you think aliens don't exist, you need to wake up, sheeple. She goes on a long rant. We are not alone in the universe. There are billions of stars and billions of planets. And on some of those planets, life arose just like it did here on good old Earth. On some of those planets, highly intelligent life evolved, just like Homo sapiens, humans, evolved here. I just wanted to, I don't know, I feel like somebody in the audience will appreciate this. Do you guys know Fermi's paradox?
Yeah, I was about to say it's the Fermi paradox.
Yeah, it's like Fermi's paradox realized. It's like if Fermi's line of reasoning was totally correct and we had evidence.
Yeah.
So basically, it's like if there's so much out there, why
haven't we seen anything? Yeah.
Anyway.
The thing about Fermi's paradox is that it's so unbelievably likely that that's the only reason we know it's probably false. Like the why would you lie about that version of like, too weird to make up. Like,
why would you lie about that?
I like that. So we get the Ellimist mentioned here. Just following what you were reading, Chris.
Yeah, that's right.
And we get the Gedds twice, and it kind of feels like they're stringing these beads along, like we know that they could come up again. So I'm hoping that maybe this is setting us up that we're going to get, maybe not the Ellimist, but the Gedd. We've been waiting for the Gedd to return.
I want like 5 books on the fucking Gedds, and I know I'm not going to get 5.
Where's the Gedd Chronicles? I know there are no Gedd Chronicles.
They're out there. Someone write them.
Taxon Chronicles?
The Wiggly-Boys.
The Wiggly-Boys Chronicles.
That was my favorite boy band growing up.
Wigglies. All right, so the Yeerks have taken over everything. One Andalite, and Rachel mentions here that they're taking over all these humans, and the most disgusting thing to her, the thing that's always, like upset her the most, made her the angriest, is voluntary controllers, because to choose to surrender and choose to become a traitor is sickening. Yeah,
which is hardcore. But also, I don't think we should elect Rachel to go to any sort of summit or negotiations.
Right.
Like, I don't think that she has the best soft skills. I'm sensing a lot of black and white reasoning.
Thinking,
like,
right,
yeah, exactly.
She's like, and the taxons, evil. I buy that. That's how the world works.
Mm-hmm. There are only 2 things you can count on in life: death and taxes.
So what she says here is, at least I know what it took to get one person to betray his entire planet. So she's kind of setting up the book here. I guess he betrayed me personally, too. This is why we're talking about parasocial relationships. In a way, not that he knew me. There were probably a million girls like me with crushes on him. I know what you're thinking. Rachel has a crush? Rachel, the person Marco calls Xena Warrior Princess? This isn't actually that important.
What are you talking about?
I'm sorry. Well, what can I say? Cute is an extremely important line. And cuteness is a very powerful force. This is a great line.
And he was the cutest of all cute guys that ever showed a dimple. It was a shame I had to do what I did to him. It hurt me as much as it hurt him. Well, maybe not quite as much, but we'll get to all that grisly stuff later.
Delicious pun. Delicious.
Yeah, Rachel joke. Oddly enough, it all started at the zoo.
So this next chapter, we're in chapter 2, finally. Good job, everybody. We made it to
That's
chapter
really what
2.
I was trying to do, is just usher us along.
All right, so Rachel and Cassie are on a school field trip to the gardens. Rachel's excited. Cassie's less excited because her mom's going to give a presentation and her mom's going to try to be cool. And when her mom tries to be cool, bad things happen. And she misnames a bunch of bands
But my favorite just has to be Boys 11 Men.
Yeah.
I think Boys 11 Men
Boys 11 Men
really
hurts.
inspired.
That hurts so much.
Well, Nice is Neat is also
right.
That's pretty wild, and that's the one that it's Rachel and Cassie talking about this, and Rachel is shocked that Cassie listens to Nine Inch Nails, and
which she kind of tries to say she doesn't, but I don't know that I believe.
I don't want to believe it.
I think she's deeply into it already, and she floated it by Rachel, and Rachel gave her a weird look, and she's like, I'll just say I didn't like it that much.
We also get, Rachel mentions here, she's enjoying the zoo, she's sipping a Mountain Dew, which of course she's sipping a Mountain Dew, and she's checking out the occasional good-looking guy. We get little seeds planted that Rachel's looking at boys.
True.
Yeah, they're just sitting by the crocodile pit, and
Some kindergartners come through.
yeah, and while they're coming through, and while she's checking out the hot guys and trying to tell Cassie that Nine Inch Nails is dumb, she then stumbles into this sort of like thought poem of a description here. There was a boy playing on the railing, and she just goes, suddenly he was gone, over the edge, into the crocodile pit. Which reminds me of that. You know that poem where they eat the plum? Yeah, it reminds me of that for some reason.
So yeah, kid goes flying into the crocodile pit. Cassie's like, I'm gonna get help. My mom works here. People know me. I can get help. I'm gonna get help. Rachel, look at me. Look me in my eyes.
Don't get in that pit.
Don't
get in that pit, Rachel.
You stay out of that pit.
You stay out of that pit, Rachel. When they go low, we go higher. You stay out of that pit.
Alligator.
Can I pet that alligator? It's a crocodile. The best part about this is the boy who falls in, we learn the damn kid's name. We get a new NPC.
Of course we do.
I know,
true.
but I'm like, I love these characters that are totally disposable.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep track of them all. It would be way easier if Rachel had two younger siblings named Juan and Terry. That would be...
Where are they?
Where are they? They're in a tangle right now practicing basketball.
Somewhere. That's where they always are.
And talking about Athens or whatever they were talking about there.
Ancient Greece, yeah.
So what does Rachel do? She
jumps
immediately runs towards the crocodile.
She swings down a fake concrete tree, which I think is a weird touch.
Using her uneven parallel bar training,
Yeah.
specifically.
I think she tries to do look over there, pointing wildly so to distract people. But I feel like everyone just looks at her as she jumps into the
for sure.
crocodile tank,
I'm not an idiot. I'm not looking
Given
away.
that someone shouts, "Don't be a fool."
I have a theory. I think that was Visser.
Visser 3. And so she lands in the crocodile pit. The boy is there. He's
the boy.
He's unconscious.
And the crocodiles start moving towards Rachel, right? Like this big crocodile.
Yeah, she has to think fast on her feet. Jake did this in the last book, so we got to do it here. We got to do what Jake also did in the first book, which is a strategic acquisition of a morph to buy time.
Correct.
Yes. So she reaches out, pets the croc. The croc is put in a trance-like state, giving her time to think. And she runs through her options while she's acquiring this croc before it acquires her.
So she's acquiring the crocodile's DNA, and it's the typical thing. The animal becomes calm. The tail stops lashing.
Oh, we should note that did we say that she's in this like little alcove that people can't see?
I was wondering, yeah.
She's
I was trying to remember.
She manages to tuck herself. Yeah, she tucks herself. So like there's an island in the middle and then an area around the moat-like lake that you can't really see from above. It goes a little underneath. And that's where she finds a seventh angrier crocodile who's definitely going to try to eat this boy.
Yes, and as the seventh antisocial crocodile who's just waiting for boys to fall over the rail. And then, as she's acquiring the morph, we get a really interesting development. I'll just read what she narrates here. But something else was happening at the same time. For the first time ever, I felt sick to my stomach while acquiring the crocodile. Sick like I'd swallowed some spoiled milk or something. And at the same time, I felt a swarm of heat prickles all over my skin. And she chooses to just push through this and ignore it. But it is like absolutely worth noting.
Important.
Absolutely important. Just like the power of cuteness, which should have been the tagline for this book.
She morphs into the crocodile, right?
Yes.
Yeah, totally. She gets sick while acquiring, and then she immediately makes a snap decision that she is out of sight enough to morph the crocodile and potentially protect the boy.
That's the plan.
The little boy who like hit his head after following is coming to. And for some reason, it notes he fluttered his eyes, which just feels very... He's adorable. He's got those big lashes.
Big lashes.
Yeah. But the point is, she's morphing right in front of this little kid.
But he is still kind of loopy. He's still out of it.
Yeah, he's still kind of out of it. And she knows that the big thing she's going to have to deal with when she finishes the morph, in addition to battling the other crocodile, is going to be like getting control of a new morph as quickly as possible. There's a cool description of how hardened the crocodile mind is.
Yes. She is thinking about it. She's resisting the mind of the crocodile, and she says, resist! But the crocodile mind had evolved millions of years before the first monkeys had swung in the trees. The crocodile mind had survived unchanged while dinosaurs went down to extinction and the first birds flew. It was old and simple and clear, and it rolled across me, sweeping aside my fragile human thoughts.
Yeah. So she's about to eat that boy.
So she's actually, the crocodile brain is different than what she expects with other morphs, because like she's used to it coming on like fast, I think. She says like sometimes control is almost impossible, but it seems like the crocodile brain almost approaches her consciousness like slowly.
Yeah, just like
she says it's like it was slow the way a super tanker may be moving slowly, but still impossible to stop. It rolled toward me, utter simplicities, no complex thoughts, no doubts, just hunger, only hunger. So it's actually like she doesn't, I think her typical moves for like controlling the animal brain don't work here. Like her tactics don't work in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she seems to think that's because this consciousness is like very time hardened and has existed exactly this way for so long.
It's pretty scary.
It's neat though.
So Rachel she's been overtaken by this crocodile brain, and she is about to eat this child. Like she is moving towards him. She is not in control. And the only thing that stops her is that the other crocodile that she just made a copy of comes out of its haze and attacks her. But they're fighting over the boy as prey at this point, right?
Right. She fights this crocodile and she sort of realizes that the child's starting to crawl away, but that because the two alpha crocodiles are now locked in this battle, the other crocodiles that were leaving the boy alone because there was a bigger crocodile next to it are starting to look a little interested in that boy. They're like, oh, maybe we can get away with it. Maybe we can catch a cheeky little cheeky snack. And she realizes that's not gonna fly with her. So she's like, all right, what I gotta do is get this kid and get out of here. And she does a cool thing. She uses her human brain, she says, to realize...
Yeah, so during this, she emerges. The Rachel brain emerges.
Mm-hmm. Well, she's pulling on the tail of the other crocodile, and that crocodile is pulling on her leg. She lets go of the tail so that his momentum sends him flying backward. Mm-hmm. And then she chomps him real good.
Mm-hmm. That's using your brain.
And then she gets the little boy and she's like, I don't know what to do. He doesn't know what to think. And so she just thought speaks him. I'm the good crocodile. Climb on my back.
Unfortunately, he was a cool little kid. Small enough to not question the fact that a crocodile was talking to him.
But she is a good crocodile.
That's what we're always saying about Rachel. So the boy, Tyler, I don't know why we got his name and now we're not using it. I mean the book, not
right.
The three of us.
Whoa, dude.
Come on, we're professionals.
Sorry.
Tyler climbs on her back. They slither away to safety. I think this is in plain sight. Like people can see this child riding on her crocodile back.
They do.
They don't know where Rachel went.
And they don't know why there's an eighth crocodile.
They don't know why there's an eighth crocodile. Tyler escapes. Rachel goes back to the alcove. The eighth crocodile disappears, and then Rachel emerges again, and no one's putting it together. Everyone's fine. Where do we cut to? But the Animorphs meeting.
Well, now we got to get chewed out by the boss man. We got to get yelled at by the shop floorman.
I think it's actually Marco who's putting it in here. Like, he's the one who's really agitated with what
I thought we had a mighty fine book in those first 4 chapters on their own. I don't see why we have to continue. Frankly, we laid it all out.
So we are at Cassie's barn. But everybody's here. Axe is here, which he doesn't usually come to the barn. He's here, and Rachel's giving us the rundown of everybody and the situation, where we are, the wildlife rehabilitation clinic. She would think Jake was good looking if he wasn't her cousin. I don't know why she feels the need to tell us.
Yeah, we have to.
They're at least on the same page.
Yes,
right?
we have to, we just have to identify that, if they wanted to leave this in the past, they rightfully fucking could have. And now we're in book 12, and we're recycling a line from books 1, 6, 7.
But
just stop it with this.
As always, I feel like Rachel pulls it off better because she doesn't seem embarrassed to say it. She's like, I'd probably say that he's attractive, if he wasn't my cousin.
She doesn't start stammering and getting in a weird sweaty.
It's also fine to say that your cousin you can acknowledge your cousin's attractive, good looking. Frankly, it raises, not make a thing about it.
Frankly, it raises your stock because if you're their cousin, then you have you're probably hot too. So that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they're just trying to do that, but then
it's
Jake
a good way of letting people know that you're attractive, actually, is to talk often about how attractive your cousins are.
Regardless of what Rachel thinks about Jake's looks, she says that Cassie thinks he's perfect and that Cassie and Jake have a little thing going on, and they won't admit it, and they seem to be convinced nobody else knows, but everybody knows.
God damn it. Animorphs HR is coming after them, dude. The second I get a budget for Animorphs HR, we're going to have a long conversation.
She goes through her Marco thing. She's like, Marco's there.
He's lounging this time. He's not lolling.
Not lolling. No. Weird, unnecessary word change.
Yeah. Keep it the same.
Well, we get another very weird word in here later, so I think that they're only supposed to do one.
I looked at the engram for that word. We'll talk about that in a bit.
We get a Tobias description that is, and Chris, you noted this, it doesn't feel... If you were hoping to get some good Tobias content in this book, you're not going to get it.
That is the one thing about the character development with her being suddenly so thirsty, as it were, as you so indelicately put it. But the point is her journey that it is unlikely she will ever actually have access to describing her emotions. She probably lies in denial of her own emotional experience. You know what I mean? There's I feel like that's what's coming out with her. And I feel like here we have a description of Tobias, and we're catching vibes in other books, and they're spending all this time together. And that's something we didn't actually adequately touch upon in a couple paragraphs. We're going to get a section where Tobias and her kind of have a side channel chat going about how to handle the situation. And there's an intimacy there that that is signaled, but only shown, not told by her.
Yeah.
And these books are very tell, don't show. So I expect, when we have a Cassie book, we get a lot of Jake's cute, and I guess I think he's neat. And
although in Cassie's book, she and Jake were not best buddies for a lot of her book.
No. Which I liked. I think that's actually good development to get
right.
Yeah.
But you're right. Yeah. You're right. But still, this is nothing. This is breadcrumbs. I feel true. We don't really Tobias isn't even charting.
Yeah. And it is just the nature of these books. I mean, we have a Tobias book coming up, so it could be possible.
I really hope that his book is he's I think Rachel's so cool. I hope she'd like a bird like me.
You do get this feeling if you're not going to get another Rachel book for another cycle. So it won't be until 17, 18 probably that we get another Rachel book. And it's if you're not getting it here from her perspective, you're not going to get it it's just the nature of these books, I guess.
Yeah.
It's
that's a long time.
But it does feel I actually don't think we've had, and this might just because Tobias has kind of gone on the back burner, is something we've been expressing for a while. It doesn't feel like there's been any movement on, even in book 7, where we got Rachel and Tobias, they did actually have a long conversation, and we left it kind of feeling unsatisfied.
They had a conversation where they said a lot and communicated nothing.
Nothing.
Yes. Yeah. I think maybe they didn't know what they were doing with Tobias yet at that time.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can figure. But yeah, I feel like we're long overdue some good. We got a really cute Jake and Cassie scene last book, so I feel like we're long overdue a good Rachel Tobias scene.
So we also get a cool description. She just hits that Cassie is like the hardest working person she knows.
Yes.
That's true.
We get an axe description. He has a tail, like a scorpion's tail. Very fast, very dangerous in a fight.
Just like the cousin thing, though. She doesn't belabor the point. She's like, yeah, the tail would be hot if it weren't my cousin.
And it does leave you wondering, could it do some damage? We don't know this time.
We don't know. It could be very dangerous, but is that dangerous? Like, oh, please don't run with that. Or like, you know.
So yeah, we got all the descriptions of everyone. Then we get back to this argument they're having. Marco thinks that Rachel should have let the boy get chomped. Probably the right move in this case, given the stakes of what they're engaged in.
Absolutely.
What is Jake's point here?
Jake's point is Marco's
point. She could have been seen very easily.
Yeah, and Marco's saying the same thing of like, you have to be more careful. You can't take on everything. You have to let things happen in front of you, because if you get found out, we lose the whole war. Yeah. Like, just because this kid falls into a thing, so what? Kid should be less dumb. Like, we can't be risking our necks.
I would say Marco is actually saying, let the kid get eaten. Jake is saying, you have to be careful. Tobias and Cassie are in Rachel's corner, and maybe this is why I got confused. Axe doesn't actually speak here in this chapter, right?
I thought he said something, maybe it's in chapter 6.
Rachel was brave. Bravery is a great virtue.
Yes, that's exactly. That's chapter 6. Okay, so what happens in this chapter? At the end of this chapter, we get Tobias whispering to Rachel in her ear, saying this is the line to use against Jake.
Ask Jake what he would have done.
Exactly. And it's a mind speak whisper, and
it's a direct message.
Yeah,
a DM.
A DM. I carefully avoided nodding or giving any sign that Tobias had whispered to me, and I said, Jake, if you think what I did was so wrong, what would you have done? Jake stops pacing. The point is, secrecy is absolutely important, he said. Jake, I repeated, what would you have done in my place? And this gets a whole end of chapter moment.
Break.
Like, this gets a chapter break. We launch right back in, diffusing that tension immediately.
Yes.
And Jake scratches his ear, grins sheepishly, and says, just because I would have done the same thing doesn't make it right. But now we get into like a really funny moment. This isn't that funny, but Cassie's like, I think Rachel was a hero. Then they start talking about how brave Rachel is and how it's a good virtue. And then Marco says that. Yeah, access that. Thank you. And then Marco says, thank you, Obi-Wan Kenobi, for that wisdom. Of course she's a hero. She's always a hero. Rachel can't stop being heroic. Being stupidly brave is like some nervous tick she can't control. But what if someone had caught her morphing on videotape? Like, his point is like...
He's very right.
Yeah, like this, like, of course it's brave, of course it's valorous, or whatever the word is. But it's like, you need to get this shit under control. You need to use your brain. You need to think.
So, just setting up, like, I guess, like, the rest of the book. Marco is... We all seem in agreement that Marco's right here. Does the book think Marco is right? Because what Rachel is going to do the rest of this book is kind of be stupidly brave. Like, Rachel has this thing that she had in book 2. I don't think she had it in book 7, where she is going to be going through something and she's going to kind of choose to go through it alone rather than asking for help. Right?
No, and she kind of did it in book 7 as well, because she was hiding the fact that she might be
you're absolutely
leaving.
Right. This is her.
I don't remember what
book
what
7.
It
wasn't anything morphing related, but she was hiding that her dad was asking her to come live with him in a different city.
Yes,
she hit the central tension of the book.
Yeah. But so she is going to be stupidly brave. This book. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if it sides. I don't think
it's stacked though. Like, Tobias and Cassie and even Jake kind of comes around to Rachel's point.
Yeah, I mean, the book loves Rachel. I think that's true. I don't think that Marco's right, and that I don't think that Marco being right means Rachel's a bad person or something like that. Like,
and crucially,
no, I don't think so either.
Throughout her crusade of stupidity, Marco does not abandon her.
No.
Yeah, no. Of course not. Yeah.
He continues while saying the whole time, this was stupid and your fault, back her up 100%.
Yeah. And actually, probably she should get whatever their version of like a check or like not a punishment, but like you need to get this thing, like an intervention. Yeah, is what I'm trying to say.
Totally.
She doesn't. They. It is justified to do that, and maybe that's coming down the line, but we do not get an intervention at this point. And also, to the book's credit, it does say that wiped the smile off. This is after Marco spoke. That wiped the smile off my face. As much as Marco annoyed me, he was right. So yeah, they do acknowledge that here.
Like anytime you write a book, whether you mean to or not, you're glorifying an experience. And that's okay, but it does draw into question, what are you trying to add? What's the value out of glorifying that experience?
Right.
Yeah. And we love Rachel for this.
And we love Rachel for this. Absolutely, yeah. It's just, it is interesting to be like, is the book like saying you should be impulsive to a fault? And what does it mean that the book is calling it out?
Rachel's going to put everyone in a great deal of danger, and most of all herself. And I think that's probably a pretty good argument that, like, this is fun, but it's not a good idea. I don't think it's telling you, like, hey, kids, go out and do it. Yeah.
Yeah, she really pushes the limit.
The tension's really driven in Rachel books by the fact that she's not acting like her best behavior.
Yeah.
You know how they say, like, no old school farcical plot could exist if cell phones existed? She needs an emotional cell phone. Like, one sentence could change this whole book.
We do have this thing right after this that Rachel is in luck because what the media is focusing on after that incident is the fact that a kid rode a crocodile.
Yep. He's going to be on 5 talk shows.
Yes, and they're not chasing the Rachel girl fell into pit and disappeared and then was fine thing. Like, that's not the story they're following, so...
Damn it, though, if Tyler talks, we're boned.
So they move on. This is so funny the way this gets introduced. They finish that conversation.
It's such a thin
the chapter could have ended, and they kind of like acknowledged that. We all laughed. The tension was broken for about 10 seconds.
Basically ended, right?
Yeah. So yeah. 10 seconds pass. I like to believe it's 10 seconds of silence till Jake finally said, hey, by the way, Tom said something about how the sharing is going to hire that kid from Powerhouse as a spokesman. Do you think
he was like doing a slow smile during that 10 seconds? Like he was
like... Marco goes, that TV show? Huh, that's strange. Well, anyway, I have homework piled up on my desk at home. Plus I have the new Nintendo game. You know, the one where, and I feel like there's like a Sario rip where like they could have just like gone in this direction.
Depending which Nintendo game he just bought, yeah.
Yeah. But instead, Cassie and Rachel, their mouths are just hanging open. And the conversation actually just gets stuck in place. Like, they can't move on with Marco. And Marco and Jake, like, inquire what's going on. And then we learn about Jeremy Jason McCole.
Jeremy Jason McCole is going to be endorsing the sharing.
I'll join right now.
Jeremy Jason McCole? Cassie echoes.
Yeah, and even Cassie cares about this guy.
And then Jake and Marco and Tobias name a bunch of people.
Yeah, Jake's like...
Michael Jordan.
Extremely famous sports
It's not like
people.
He's Michael Jordan or Brett Favre or Wayne Gretzky.
I realized Michael Jordan was the first one, but Brett Favre?
Brett Favre.
Wayne Gretzky.
You know what a heck of a touchdown. Brett Favre.
Wayne Gretzky's hockey?
Hockey, yeah.
It's 100% of the shots you don't take.
That's true.
Is that him?
Yeah.
He said that?
He did say that, yeah.
Wow.
You didn't even read
I didn't know someone actually said that. I thought it was just an inspirational...
You didn't even read my note. You would have known it was hockey if you'd read my note. So
Bird Boy is
hockey.
Maybe that's what happened when I read it. We do get also, Jake says, he's just an actor. I mean, he's a dork. What is a dork? Asked. And Tobias goes on about his hair.
Hair? He said
he's not admiring the hair.
And Cassie's like, I love his hair.
Plus, he's even shorter than I am, Marco said.
Poor Marco! Mm-hmm. He's so ashamed of his own height. Mm-hmm. That's the epitome of his cuteness, I think.
He's in every magazine.
Magazine.
Yum, 17.
Wussy Weekly, The New Dork Times.
Which gives... Big Sexy News a run for its money, as Eddie pointed out. Yep. As a real...
But there's a real gender divide that takes place here.
The girls managed to convince the boys that this is a big deal, that he is very popular. They finally get it through to them, like saying it would be like if the entire female cast of Baywatch was going to endorse the sharing, and they don't believe this, which I don't know, for some reason the juxtaposition of teen girls, with big crushes on teen idols versus teen boys lusting after fully adult women just feels like weirdly different.
It's not great.
It's a good point.
Like I know they were still pretty young on Baywatch, but like I don't know. It's just like, here's this boy who's been built up as the perfect thing for girls to want. He's loving and chaste, and you can bring him home to mom. And they're like, have you seen Pamela Anderson's titties?
Did either of you have any idea who Yasmin
No
Leaf
idea.
was?
I had to look it up, and I still don't really know who she is.
So we should also say this. We all think that Jeremy Jason McCole is Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty clear.
He was that person at that time, right?
I think so. I was a little young for that, but yes.
I forget about him, but because he didn't continue, but he was such a big deal at that time. He was Simba.
What do you mean he didn't?
He was
continue?
Simba. He was definitely Simba. Young Simba.
He's dead. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, Jesus
That's
Christ.
how we
I'm
do.
too old
No, he's
for this
actually
shit.
alive. He's fine.
Oh my gosh. And he's from Bethlehem, PA.
Like.
Well, this guy's Jeremy Jason McCole is gonna get shouted out as being from Altoona.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right. Yeah. But no, Jonathan Taylor Thomas, he became a recluse. He's not in the public spotlight at all. And no one has any idea how he's doing, which is also what happens to Jeremy Jason McCole.
Yeah, I understand. He's the J.D. Salinger of our time. Moving on.
Okay.
Thanks for listening to Anidorks. We'll be back soon with lots more to say. Until the Andalites return, or at least until next time. See you soon.